Hello, everyone. Oh boy. So, today we have an interesting quest, which is hardly even a quest. It's more like just one interaction. So, technically, this quest is considered short because it's only one interaction. So, I think this quest could technically be the shortest in the game. But that's not taking into account the size of the dialogue that is absolutely monstrous. Uh, I haven't necessarily been looking forward to this one, but today is the day we're going to get this one out of the way. And I hope you enjoy this story. At least you'll have a narration of it now. Um, So let's talk to this early bird who's awake, and you can just go ahead and relax while I read. I'm not going to waste any more tape. Don't quite know what voice I'm going to do for this guy, but anyways, here we go. Maybe I'll try and be the guy from Richard Scarry's Busy Town. In which case, if I end up doing an accent, since everything's improvised, please realize I'm not trying to do any specific accent, because I don't know. I'm not I don't even know what I'm going to be doing. It's just a voice, okay? That's the point. Don't pay attention to it. There's nothing specific in mind. Let's just get going because this is gonna be ridiculous. Let's have a seat for this one. Jeez. Without further ado, here we go. Hmm. Hi. What's up? What are you staring at? Sorry to bother you. I noticed you don't have a talent mark. What's up with that? Uh, let's say hi. What's up?
I am an ancient aviator, a midship pony by trade. The winds would be my arbiter, the storms I would evade, until fate dealt me a drastic hand. So now I sit here bound to warn those still upon the land. I cannot leave the ground.
You got wings, Duke. You want to fly? Use them. Aren't you being a bit over the top? Can't be that bad. Is there any way I can help? Nice rhymes, Duke. You a poet? Let's say, is there any way I can help?
I was first mate on a trading blimp, a zeppelin strong and fierce. Defiant they called her, a ship first rate, who'd sailed for countless years. She weathered storms 100-fold, braved cyclones tall and wide, and her reinforced and armored hold stored countless cargo inside. Many moons ago this time of day, she set forth from these cloudy isles for a colony in Hoofston Bay, a journey of 12,000 miles. What happened next I'm cursed to tell to all who'll hear this song. Should you accept, I must warn you, my tale is quite long.
Fire away. It can't be longer than my grandpa's stories. Two of those last lines totally didn't rhyme, but yeah, I'm game to listen for a while. Yeah, I got like things to do. Thanks for offering though. Well, as much as I'd like to say that, let's go with the second one.
'Twas over the Arabian Sea our problems first began. We'd navigated to a point where once there had been land, an atoll with a wild orchard of tropical fruit trees was a favored rest stop for my crew during long ocean journeys. I sat down in a long boat, Defiant carried in its hull. Under the waves I saw the sea had swallowed the island whole. Such a water rise I had never seen in years of sailing past. I returned aboard and warned the crew to leave these waters fast. When I saw the ponies look aghast to the north with their eyes wide, a tidal wave a mile high bore down upon our ride. With little choice we dropped our sails and battened hatches too. With no chance to fly over it, we'd have to punch right through. The moment that we hit the crest, I was knocked to the floor. Our boat groaned and I was sure we'd never see the shore. With a crash defiant, hit the surf, badly damaged but intact. We'd braved the wave, still with all hands, but our hull was badly cracked. At the crew sang songs. As the crew sang songs in their relief, I took inventory. We had supplies to live 4 days before we'd go hungry.
Wow, you weren't kidding. This is long. What happened next? Huh. Oh man, I just remembered I left the souffle in the oven. Sorry to cut you off. Say what happened next.
For 5 weeks we were set adrift through constant rain and storm. We had no food. At night the crew would huddle to keep warm. This weather I could not explain. In the past it was fall. The storms would last a week at worst. 5 weeks without a lull? Then a cry rang out above the ship, a deep unearthly crow. As ghostly horses circled us, the wind grew chilled as snow. I should have guessed only one beast could cause an endless storm. Windigos, but not just one. We'd provoked an entire swarm. They swooped down on my frightened friends, grabbing them one by one. When they found me in the cargo hold, I faced the pack alone. I remember what my father said, Windigos feed on your fear. So I tied myself to a hatch and yelled, Beasts, you are not welcome here. I forced myself to feel rage, to drown out any fright. It was the only feeling I could hold for an entire night. They circled but could not approach, though they hissed and made a show. Finally, with little other choice, they flew away, letting me go. Alone amongst Defiant's wreck, no hope, no crew, no food. The figurehead, my only friend, I'd naught to do but brood. There should be an island to my east, according to the maps, assuming it had not fallen prey to the Windigo's traps. I fixed the hull best as I could, made a sail out of a blanket, but when I reached the atoll, they had already sank it. But squinting through the water, I saw seaweed on its beach. Diving into the murky brine, I grabbed all that I could reach. These disgusting salty plants sustained me in the blue. 'Twas all the food I had to eat. I drank the morning dew. 4 days later, a call sounded from where I stored the kelp. I jumped awake, helping in vain. The newcomer could help. Hello to you, I yelled. I called back, a mistake I do admit. Hunger had addled my mind. Coldness had dimmed my wit. On hearing me, my new friends showed their teeth and loudly laughed. A pack of sharks was now trying to overturn my craft.
Wow, what did you do next? Sorry to cut you off, but I really gotta go. I've always wanted to eat seaweed. I'm still dreading this. Wow, what did you do next?
The leader of the sharks was white, with a scarred and bulged stomach. Jump in the water now, pony, and we swear we'll make it quick. If you had any honor, as I do, I dared to say, you'd duel me for my right to live, and you to swim away. His smile grew even wider. A duel you want, of course. Just meet me in the water, and we'll settle us some scores. I don't trust you among your mates. Why don't you come up on deck? I challenged, whereupon he jumped onto my splintered wreck. Now I get to choose the weapon, since you got to choose the turf. And I picked teeth, he laughed as his mates cheered him on from the surf. He lunged, I dodged, he snapped, I blocked, barely parrying his blows. When I recalled my father's words, a shark's weakness is his nose. When next he struck, I jumped forward and punched him in the snout. He buckled up, rolled off the edge, and splashed with a pained shout. Cheetah, he cried. I said just teeth. That doesn't count. You punched. You forfeit the duel, destroy his boat. We're having him for lunch.
You dueled a shark? Is that like the only time that's happened in history? Oh man, I remembered I have to iron my llama. Bye. How did you escape? Let's ask that.
As the sharks tore off plank by plank off of my poor dirigible, I noticed they would not attack. One place, Defiance Hull. The cargo hold was reinforced. The sharks could not break through. 'Twas watertight and airproof. I knew what I had to do. As the ship listed dangerously, I sprinted over the keel, locked myself inside the hold, and double-checked the seal. When Defiant finally groaned and sank, my airtight room did keep. I had no food or hope of rescue. My air would last a week. I hit the ocean floor after countless hours had passed, the darkness my only companion, waiting my one repast. I had but one reassuring thought when I did go. Cold, alone, and deprived of sight, I probably wouldn't know. It's impossible to know how long I sat in dark remiss, until a noise aroused me, a barely audible hiss. I located the source of it when I stepped into a puddle. A microscopic crack had formed into my steel-wrapped bubble. Each hour the hiss got louder. There was no fix I could find. I still had naught to do but wait, yet now in real time. Once I was treading water, I had one last thing to try. I flipped the rowboat upside down, trapping the air inside. With my head under the dinghy, at least I still could breathe, for maybe an hour at best. I'd no choice but to leave, once the room was flooded. I prepped to leave to the unknown, when I heard the door creak loudly and open on its own. Something swam around me. I had not the nerve to look, but I wasn't being eaten, so that's a plus in my book. Then a head poked under my boat, a head I was shocked to see. Fierce eyes, a snout, familiar shape. It was a sea pony. He glanced at me with mistrust. I recalled Father's warning. Sea ponies trust a land dweller like we'd trust a changeling. I tried to speak, but he spoke first. Stranger, you come with me. Try anything suspicious, and we'll leave you to the sea. They pressed the boat on my head, tied a rope around my waist, searched Defiant for valuables, and left the site with haste. The trek was harsh and painful, but I saw such wondrous sights. Coral, sea vents, and fish of which I'll never see the likes. As I was wondering just how far our group had left to go, I saw the ground become tinted with an aquamarine glow. I wanted to ask of my guard where that we were approaching, but I feared his wrath if he did deem that I was bothering. Then the sand turned to tiles under my exhausted hooves. I bent my head to get a peek, even if he disapproves. A gathering crowd stared back at me, sea ponies large and small, amongst a grand submerged city with towering spires tall. There were streets and shops of all kinds, statues and lamps austere. I looked in awe, wondering how fate could have brought me here. The guard then kicked my behind, for the shock had stopped me dead. We're still moving, he growled, but the palace is up ahead. The palace was a wondrous sight, stained glass shaped like a bloom. I was led to the tallest tower to see the grand throne room. On a gilded throne of marble with amethyst stones inset, sat a pony more beautiful than any I have met. She shimmered with unearthly light. Her skin was white as coral. Rainbows reflected over the court from her headdress's pearl. I fell to my shaking knees, paying my due respect. We found him, announced my chaperones, with a sunken wreck. When the boat was removed from me, breathing soon gave me trouble, until the sorceress summoned me a protective air bubble. Speak, stranger, she commanded, on what drew you from the shore and left you a new denizen here on our ocean floor. My boat was sunk by Wendigos, I answered, still in awe. Tell me, is this the fabled kingdom of Equestria? Speak not that name, she trilled, enraged. Of ponies tranquil and spineless, this is a proud warrior city, of noble stock, Aquantis. When I was young, my father would tell legends of this city. They loved war and swift punishment, felt no remorse or pity. With a twirl of her hair, she conjured a display of sparks. I am Princess Marina, this city's fabled monarch. What shall we do? The lead guard asked. Our people don't take guess. Marina nodded. Lock him up. He'll be under arrest. As we cannot kick him out of here, for he cannot even breathe, we'll try him through the system, and if he passes, he leaves. How do I earn my freedom? I asked Princess Marina. The same way all do, she replied, within the arena. Prisoners who win the tournament may leave here in good health. If you win, I'll use my magic to send you home myself.
How could you compete in a sea pony tournament? There's no way a Qantas actually exists. What happened next? Well, that seems like a good stopping point for now. Have a good day. I have no soul left, but I will continue. What happened next?
The next day I was led through crowds of rowdy sea ponies, hollering at the contestants of today's festivities. I was a source of wonder to all those who did attend. Even my rival challengers held hushed conversation. When the largest broke from the rest and fiercely approached me, when this game starts, he hissed with joy, I'll kill you personally. Pleased to meet you, I replied. I didn't catch your name. Crasher, he announced proudly, the champion acclaimed. I've won this game a dozen times, but I choose not to leave. I live to crush my enemies and their dreams to go free. I am ranked higher than any pony in our history. And you, as the first from the land, shall be my next trophy. Shame boasting as an event, for you'd be quite prepared. I idly replied, leaving him, glaring with teeth bared. I took my place beside the rest, as Marina decreed. Welcome to all, today we see which prisoner shall be freed. He who scores the highest in the 5 coming events shall be allowed to leave our land, pardoned for his offense. The first event is javelin. At that I perked my ears. I'd gained much practice as a skipper in my early years. Each of we 6 were then handed our town of 6 harpoons set. Our own 6 harpoon set and turned to face a throwing range with our own small target. Marina spoke, "A point for each. Hit in your target center." So Crasher threw his first shot, but the harpoon did not enter, for I threw faster, not at where my scoring could take place. Instead, I broke his target leg, so it fell on its face. The other 4 met a similar fate. Then my final harpoon flew at my target standing alone and hit the middle true. Minutes passed till Marina's voice broke through the silent strain. All sea ponies are now in last, while I was 1 point gained. Crasher protested bitterly. His cheating is evident. Marina shook her head and said, "On to the next event. Manta Manta racing is the Manta racing is the next event contest we'll see today." At that, led onto the turf, were 6 rearing saddled rays. The sight filled me with a sudden, anxious consternation. I had absolutely nothing, no experience to draw on. One was much larger than the rest, a muscled purebred dragon. Crasher mounted it with a whoop. "I always take this one." The lesser rays were doled out, and we lined up in the sand. A light flash from Marina's horn, a cheer, and the race began. I could barely keep my seat as I took the first bend. I held on, but it was quite clear I was way at the end. In contrast, Crusher's epic ray had a comfortable lead. Already he was beginning to lap 2 with extreme speed as he approached me, grinning. Knowing victory was won, he sideswiped my poor Manta for extra humiliation. As my ray collapsed desperately, I jumped on Crasher's back and set the pony tumbling onto the racing track. I managed to dig my hooves into the dragon ray's broadside. In seconds I was in first place atop my monstrous ride. Soon it was all over. I had won another bout. All looked stunned, except for Crasher, who instead looked quite knocked out. Once he woke up, he turned beet red, recalling what had transpired. He shouted, "Give me the straight duel I've so badly desired." Marina ignored him. So begins our middling task. The boxing winner shall be he who stands in the ring last. We were led to a stone circle and stood around the rim. Then Marina hit a gong, signaling us to begin. In a flash, Crasher downed the first, followed soon by 2 more. I was retreating from one fixed on sending me to the floor. Suddenly I spotted Crasher approaching from my back. At the last second I darted away from his attack. His punch sent the other pony careening into the palace. For a second Crasher stumbled, having lost his own balance. I pushed him and he staggered, but soon regained his footing. Before he mauled me, we heard, "Stop! You stepped out of the ring." Indeed he had, and per the rules, that disqualified him. He roared and charged me anyway, to tear me limb from limb. Marina blasted him aside and strode onto the court. With 3 out of 5 victories, the tournament's cut short. We have our winner, and the crowd cheered with excited glee at the spectacle of fighting they'd been graced enough to see. "Will you be joining us for the celebratory feast?" the princess asked. I shook my head. "I'd like to be released." She bowed her head. "Of course, stranger. That is your choice to make." A wave of magic left a portal gleaming in its wake. No need to state your homeland, for you are a Pegasus. Greeting me from the other side was bright Cloudopolis. For quite some time I stared in awe at the clouds within the glow. then turned away. Sorry, that's not the place I wish to go. The frozen Arctic is the land I ask you to send me to. I can't go home until I've tried to save my wayward crew. The princess snapped angrily. My reward was very clear. Winning gets you a portal home, not just to anywhere. If you won't send me there, I said, facing her eye to eye, then put me on the surface. If I can't warp, I'll fly. Her eyes flashed red as the portal changed. Take it, ungrateful whelp. But you can't leave without punishment for rudely denying help. I curse you till the end of time to lose what you love most. Maybe next time you'll think before scorning a gracious host. A flash of light blinded me as the portal sucked me in. I emerged onto a plateau, battered by frigid wind. I knew not what her curse had done until I tried to fly. My wings refused to open, and I wasn't quite sure why. Until I curled up to sleep that night in a snowbank, I realized my talent mark did not adorn my flank. The love of my life, flying, I would never again do. The wind won't whistle through my mane. My days aloft were through. But it would all be worth it if I brought my crewmates home. So I marched for countless days. Through ice and storms I roamed. At last I reached my journey's end, the Wendigo's dark lair. Black jagged spires overlooked, cavernous depths austere. I marched in, caring not what lay within the waiting chill. Though they were a force of nature, I had my force of will. When I reached the inner sanctum, through much sneaking and stealth, I found my crew trapped in a cage, all in a horrible health. Their eyes went wide when they saw me. They thought I was a ghost, haunting them for leaving me to float along the coast. I shushed them as I freed them from their incarceration, but barely had we moved at all when we were set upon. The hissing, snarling Wendigos leapt to defend their prize. That's when I learned Marina's curse was a blessing in disguise. I had no joy to prey upon, no hope on which to feed. Her theft of flying granted the immunity I'd need. Unchallenged, I marched my friends out to freedom on the beach. We built an airship homecoming out of wreckage and debris. The ship could fly, but when it did, I'd slide off to the ground. The curse still applied, so it seemed, to vehicles airbound. So tearfully my crew took off, thanking me endlessly, to fly home to their families, and clouds I longed to see. I walked instead over continents, though I couldn't take the blimps. To get back home I didn't care. I had to have a glimpse. Imagine my surprise when I finally made it there, to see my crew had built for me a giant spiraling stair, so I could be at home like them, and now at home I stand. This all happened so long ago, but I'd do it all again.
I have no words. I cannot believe that took half an hour. Honestly, for a long time, I was just sitting there like, I am dead inside. I'm just going to keep reading, and I just keep reading is what I did. And oh boy, I guess I'll just end it right there. You get 500 XP from that quest, and not sitting, you get the Navigator's Lantern, which is this cool glowing green lantern. So now you have a reading of the quest. I'm probably the first and only person who's ever going to do that. But yeah, that's the end of that quest. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. And I'm sorry there's not much of an outro, but I hope you liked it anyways. I'm sorry for some mistakes and, you know, But anyways, we'll see you next time. I hope you enjoyed, and goodbye, everyone.